Native English speakers just talk way too fast. I'm Joseph. This is Input English. This is a topic that should resonate with most people. Most language learners get the impression that native speakers just talk way too fast. How could we possibly understand them? They're talking too fast. So let's analyze this problem and give you some resources, give you a path forward so that you can overcome this obstacle. To begin with, let's define the problem. If we're listening to someone talking and we can't understand them because they're talking too quickly, that gives us frustration. It causes us to doubt our language learning program, and it can give us a great deal of stress. If we don't overcome this problem, it can cause us to quit trying to learn the language. We can just give up, and we don't want to do that. To begin with, native speakers speak normally. So the pace of native speech is actually normal. It's the standard to which we strive. In reality, it is not that they're talking too quickly. It is that we are listening and processing the language too slowly. In most situations, if a native speaker is just speaking, they are choosing a normal pace for them. I can give you an example where that is not the case. Many years ago, we had an international scholar visiting our department, and because of the situation, I offered that he stay in our guest room. We had room, and the room that he had rented was not very satisfactory. This international scholar from Argentina stayed with us for more than 3 months. During that time, I spoke to him in English, but he also spoke to me in English. At the time, I was unaware that I would be studying Spanish in the future, and I was unfamiliar with language exchange as a way to build one's level in the target language. So I would score that as a great missed opportunity because I could have learned a great deal of Spanish in those 3 months that he lived in our guest room. During those months that we had this international visitor in the household, my wife and I actually slowed down how we were speaking because we wanted to be more understandable. So we were the exception to the rule. We were native speakers speaking our own language, but we adjusted the pace of speech downward so that our guest could understand us. It was part of our hospitality. It worked. If you are watching a video or listening to content that has been made for comprehensible input, and if you cannot understand that input because it's too fast, there are 2 possible causes. One is the creator did not speak slowly enough to be understandable, or 2, you chose your content poorly. You may have chosen content that was too advanced for your current level of comprehension. On the Input English channel, I create videos with the intermediate English language learner in mind. I assume that millions of people have studied English, have acquired some English, have a vocabulary, but need listening content so that they can improve their level of listening. So I create videos where the pace of speech is perhaps a little bit slower, and I make certain that I pronounce words very clearly. I also avoid slang. So if we are trying to listen to comprehensible input and it seems way too fast, what could be the problem? Number one, there may be key vocabulary in that content that we don't understand yet. We haven't acquired those words. In general, I would prefer to avoid looking words up in a dictionary or using an online dictionary because it interrupts the input. It also changes the style of learning from implicit learning to explicit learning. Simply put, if we don't know the words, then whatever is being spoken will be too fast for us. Another possibility for content which seems to be spoken too quickly for us is that this content includes a lot of slang or local expressions that we're not familiar with. Perhaps the content that we're trying to use is on a very unfamiliar topic, and we have trouble following the story or the discussion because of the nature of the topic. In general, if we are listening to content and it seems to be spoken way too fast for us, we're listening to content that is too advanced. So how do we adapt to this problem? How do we overcome it? Well, first of all, we should understand that listening comprehension is a skill, not something we can memorize. In most schools, the teachers don't differentiate between facts that they are teaching, that is information, versus skills. Listening comprehension is a skill. Since we cannot memorize a skill, we need to develop it. The way we learn skills is by observation and experience. So if we accept that approach to understanding the problem, then the solution comes right out of that understanding. We need to listen more. Studies have shown that progress is the best if we choose input that is easy for us to understand. Now, this is in contrast to what we learn in school. In school, we are given difficult information and we need to memorize it and learn it by explicit methods. So we are taught in school to strive and struggle. If you're not working hard, then you're not doing it right in school. That's what we're taught. With language acquisition, you're much better off choosing input that you feel is easy. The ideal content should not stress you. It should not be something you have to worry about and study. As we develop our skills in listening comprehension, we are also developing the habit of listening carefully, listening for the purpose of understanding the message. If we spend a lot of time listening to easy content, and then we encounter content that is more advanced, we already have the habit of focusing our mind on the message rather than the language structure. This will serve us very well. As we listen to easy or very easy content, we will naturally acquire more vocabulary and we will develop a very robust mental image of the language. Both of these will make it easier for us to understand speech that is more rapid. With a great deal of input, with easy content, we can have a mindset that we're interested primarily in the message. We want to understand the story. We want to understand the discussion. We don't want to focus on individual words. That mindset will help us process language more quickly. We don't want to focus on individual words. We want to be naturally curious about what the speaker is trying to convey to us. What about chunking? There's a lot of talk on the internet and on YouTube about chunking as a way to learn languages. On this topic, in most cases, I respectfully disagree with the message we are given about chunking. I think their heart is in the right place. What they're telling us is to listen for groups of words rather than individual words. That part of the concept I support. The reason I am leery of chunking as an activity that I would want to embrace is that it still amounts to explicit learning. With chunking, most presenters suggest that we should identify a phrase and then study it and memorize it. This is where my approach diverges from the advocates of chunking. Again, I think their heart is in the right place. Don't focus on individual words, don't memorize words, but I don't encourage people to embrace chunking. So if we're not going to do this chunking activity, what are we going to do? Get more content and be certain that it is at a level that is easy for us to understand. A lot of times in language learning, people advocate learning the basics, vocabulary and grammar. Let's learn the basics. We now have many decades of experience that show us that that doesn't work very well. With respect to comprehensible input, we do also have some basics. The content should be comprehensible. We should understand it. Actually, the content should be easy for us to understand. Number two, it should be very interesting. It should be something that we want to listen to. And number three, it should be presented to us in a very compelling way so that our mind and our imagination is drawn toward the message, toward the story, toward the discussion. Those are our basics. And if that is what we refer to as the basics, then I would advocate that we should all stick to the basics. Comprehensible, interesting, and compelling. The best way to overcome language which is too fast for us to understand is to get a great deal of input. Do not try to memorize anything, but foster a habit of focusing on the message, the story or the discussion, and embracing a sense of curiosity about what the speaker is saying. For me, this approach has been extremely effective. I have been acquiring Spanish over the past 2.5 years, and for much of that time, there was a great deal of native content that was way out of my reach. I couldn't understand it because it was too fast. In recent months, that problem has substantially gone away. I now routinely watch videos which are made by natives, for natives, and which are not created for language learning. The speech is relatively rapid, but because of thousands of hours of easy input, I now find this native content very understandable. So in reality, native speakers are not speaking too slowly. It is that in the early stages of language acquisition, we are listening and processing too slowly. I invite comments below, and if you like videos like this, be sure to click on this one next. See you soon.